Good morning, Amador County. This is Supervisor John Plasse with District 1 here to give the Board of Supervisors report for yesterday's meeting. The first item on the board's agenda was a discussion and possible action about the hiring of our architectural firm for the construction of an addition to our existing jail. You may recall that we had a sizable grant from the state of California for the construction of a new jail, but the costs above and beyond the amount of grant money that we had proved to be too great for our budget constraints, and we have moved away from that plan and to just an addition on the existing jail. The firm that rose to the top in the RFQ, request for qualifications, was a firm combination of Nocton Lewis and Vanner Construction. Those firms produced a presentation for us yesterday, largely based around the county's need to decide on two different design or delivery processes. The state now allows, along with a design bid build process, where you typically hire an architectural firm, put the plans out to bid, a construction firm bids the plans and then goes about and builds it, and you retain a certain amount of control in the overall design of things because that architectural firm is working for you. The state also allows a process called design build process, and that allows you to hire this was actually a process that was done by the Mule Creek Prison expansion. I participated in a review of the firm's proposals on that project, and it was interesting in that scenario, the state, or in this case the county, would establish a fixed budget for what we can afford for the project, and then we would take and develop a list of criteria that the final product would have to meet. We wouldn't get into the nuts and bolts of design aspect, but we'd say the product has to be within this budget amount, has to provide X number of beds at a new jail, and a whole host of criteria. And then from that standpoint, a combination firm of both architectural and construction design would come forward with their proposal. Pros and cons on both methods. We heard a good presentation again from Nocton Lewis on just that, the pros and cons of the various methodologies of delivery of the project. The board has yet to make a decision as to which chosen delivery method we will use, but we had to start with signing the contract with Nocton Lewis that allows them to move forward with sort of preliminary design, a needs assessment on the jail to determine what types of bed facilities we need. The results of AB 109, you may recall, where the state has sent more hardened prisoners that were in state prison back to the counties to care for, has created a need for us to have better ability to segregate the jail population, more need for special facilities that allow for mental health patients to be housed in our local jail. So a lot of criteria that has to be met to add beds to our existing bed count. But that contract was signed with Nocton Lewis. They will go forward with that needs assessment and a grant application to the state for about a $20 million grant. If we're lucky enough to get that, that and a small local match should cover the entire cost of the project. So they will move forward on that, and the county will, within the next 2 weeks, arrive at a conclusion as to which method of delivery we'll use. The next item on our agenda was sort of a combination. It was our mid-year budget update, which is we are halfway through our fiscal year, we were in December. And so with all those numbers intact, we take a look at where we are at the given point in time in our budget, and also projections looking forward, the start of the construction of our budget for our next fiscal year, 15-16. Regarding our existing position, we are right on target. I will give kudos to our CAO, Chuck Eiley, as well as Karen Scacinoshi, who is a budget analyst and assistant to Chuck Eiley. They have done an excellent job of putting together a rock-solid budget that we adhere to. judiciously and make sure that we don't go beyond what was allowed, but we also don't find ourselves in a position of over budgeting where we have big carryovers at the end of the year every year. We're utilizing the funds that we have. We're keeping as many people employed as possible, and at the same time hitting our budget on the mark. So we were within a few $1,000s really of where we expected to be at this point in the year. Looking forward, we do have some challenges and some pleasant surprises. The board has received notice that we are receiving the triple flip reimbursement. Some of you may recall that was a complicated funding scheme regarding schools, education, revenue augmentation fund, vehicle license fees, and property taxes. And confusing, I don't have enough time to explain it here, but a big state swap of monies that left the county with about $500,000 shy each year because of our local school district having declared basic aid status. Those monies are being paid back to the county, and we this year are actually recapturing monies we lost in 11-12, the fiscal year of 2011-2012. So we're sort of getting a double dip reimbursement in arrears of money that we had lost, and that amounts to a pleasant surprise for us of about a plus $700,000, I think, going into next year. We also are getting, the state is also catching up on its state mandate reimbursement, various state mandates, whether they be in the social services or behavioral health or other areas that are state mandates that fall on the counties to fund. The state is repaying some of those previously unfunded mandates and catching up with us on those things. And we also, of course, sold our courthouse property and recovered some assets from a capital murder case, the Burgo trial, where Mr. Burgo killed his mother, I believe, over in the Days Inn in Sutter Creek several years back. He claimed that he needed funding for public defenders, but he also had assets that we were able to seize. So all totaled, we had some one-time monies come into our budget that help us going into next year. One of the big areas that we need help going into next year is on our Public Works Department. The Highway Users Tax Account, another tax flop conducted at the state level, a trade between an excise tax account and a sales tax account, is leaving our Public Works Department $782,000 short going into next year. That $782,000 comes out of a department that only has a budget of $2.8 million, so it is a significant hit, somewhere in the 25 to 30% range cut to that department. And going forward, we'll settle in on about $600,000 decrease going into that department from that tax account, basically the gasoline taxes that you pay when you fill up at the gas station. We need to address that. We continue to see our local roads fall in greater and greater disrepair, and we will replenish those funds in the Public Works Department, but we will be looking for long-term sustainable ways of continuing to fund Public Works Department and keep our roads in some semblance of good repair, and it won't be just done with these one-time monies that we had through our budgets. The county also continues to see its PERS costs go up. That's the Public Employees Retirement System. You may recall that PERS conducted a smoothing operation whereby they took a look at their less than stellar performance in their investment accounts, and as a result handed the bill to you, the taxpayers, to fund those accounts and bring them back up to a level that continues to keep those retirement accounts funded. That is costing Amador County, cost us an additional $250,000 last year. In 16-17, that'll be another $320,000 on top of that number, then another $277,000, then $378,000. By the time we're at fiscal years 19-20, 2019-2020, we will be spending about $1.5 million more per year, keeping those retirement accounts funded than we were just last year. So significant costs that we need to deal with going forward into the future, and we will continue to find ways to do that. Next item on our agenda was the Environmental Health Department actually had two instances where we were repealing old outdated county codes. One set of codes revolved around water and wastewater services and county service areas. Those areas are being serviced by the Amador Water Agency now, so there was no more need for county codes on our county books, along with some retail food codes. Actually, one of our Chapter 7.12 was a retail food quality code that was adopted in 1899, and we felt that we didn't need to keep those on the books anymore. They've been supplanted by various state and federal codes regarding retail food inspections. Supervisor Oneto, as our representative to RCRC, gave a report on what's going on at RCRC, and one of the main aspects was the State Water Board's anticipated new regulatory program called the Grazing Regulation Action Project. It looks like they are unable to define which bodies of water are impaired, or any science that conclusively determines that those bodies of water are impaired by grazing. But in spite of that, they're developing a regulatory and fee program that they look to hand on to the ranching communities to regulate where your cows or other livestock graze, and what type of regulations will be required to prevent any impairment of a stream-side organization. So with that, that was the end of our meeting, and we'll be coming back in a minute here at TSPN. Thank you for listening.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.